Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to take a look at another doctored up third-party auction vehicle. And this one, believe it or not, is not from our favorite sellers. Now admittedly, our favorite sellers have set the bar pretty low. So low in fact that you have to crawl underneath it. Well, these guys found a shovel and they set the bar even lower. So we're going to have a good laugh at what they've done to the vehicle. I believe these are probably the people that used to work for our favorite sellers, but their, quality wasn't up to par, so they had to let them go and they started their own company, and here we are. I don't believe they were trying to hide anything. If they are, well, you'd have to be blind to miss it on this one. I don't think this is one of the scam cars where they're trying to sell it to some unsuspecting buyer. I think this is one of the ones that a lot of people assume the other ones are, and that's they started the project, got in over their head, and just want to get rid of it. And I think that's where it is, because the work they did to it probably lowered the value. And it's not all just to laugh at the work that they've done, because it is pretty comical. But it also, with this one, has a story to let you know where these third-party auction vehicles actually come from. Had they not touched it, it basically would have been just like it was from an insurance company. Would have worked the same way. It got wrecked, ended up in the auction. There's just a different step in between. So I'll explain all that when we get into our video, but let's have a look at our comical rebuild of our F-150. So today's vehicle is a 2015 Ford F-150 XLT. It does run and drive, has 66,152 miles on it. So this one is also in Miami, Florida. There's a lot of competition for doctoring up vehicles down there apparently, because there are multiple sellers doing the same thing. This one, they actually paid for the thing. They didn't floor plan it, but there is no seller down there, so we know it is a third-party auction car. So let's take a look at it and see just how low that bar can go. Let's take a look at the bigger pictures. Definitely looks like it rolled over. Some damage up here on the roof. Definitely have some damage on the door where the mirror folded over. Well, damage all over the place, actually. We had some damage from the mirror over here, but they took the mirror off, and it looks like they drilled some holes in here to straighten out that door. And it looks like they forgot to do the next step. It looks like they also drilled some holes to straighten out this bedside, and then they put some rivets in there to hold it together. I guess zip ties were not available at the time. So, yeah. Definitely drilled some holes in here to pull this out, along with the roof up here. Got some more holes back here. So, I think we have, as far as body panels go, a good tailgate and maybe a good door. We got a curtain airbag hanging down. We got a seat airbag that went off. We're missing some buttons on our seat. Sun visors laying down here. There's our mileage. It's not running, so we don't have any dash emojis, but you can be sure that it's probably got a few. They didn't try to hide the curtain airbags being deployed here. As a matter of fact, they removed the headliner so you could get a better look at them. They didn't even bother to clean it. There's still all the Bondo dust and probably sand from when they rolled it over. There's our VIN. Under here doesn't look too scary. I don't see anything that jumps out at me. No drywall screws. Guess they didn't learn that from our favorite sellers. Oh, there's the zip tie. They used it for the key fob. Little damage on the emblem here. Looks like there's something going on up there. Can't really tell. Maybe some primer. I think they skipped a step, like maybe the 16 gallons of Bondo required to try to straighten that out before they primed it. These guys definitely were just amateurs, even in doctoring up vehicles. Let's see if we got an inside picture. Yep, headliner is down. That's why our visors are laying on the floor. Both side seat airbags deployed. This looks like the door gasket just draped around there. You can see all the holes they punched in there to let all the hot air out of there, get more ventilation, and let the water in. So let's go take a look at it in person and see just how bad it is. I don't think they were trying to hide anything. Looks to me like they actually added some braille so that even blind people could tell this thing was wrecked. Not sure why they primed that roof. They kind of forgot to straighten the rest of it. Left some tape up there. And a few more holes on this side. A couple more holes down here. Lots of holes over here. And some rivets. That's some awesome work there. A nice tailgate. I'll give it that. Some more holes on this side. We didn't need any rivets on that side, I guess. And we got some more Swiss cheese over here. I'm pretty sure Wolverine got to the back of this thing. Yeah, I think they gave up when they realized they were going to have to replace all this stuff they were repairing, or at least trying. I haven't seen this many holes in a vehicle since I was at the Chicago police pond on the south side. And that is an OEM repair on that mirror, completely undetectable to the untrained eye. Yeah, we got a good hood, it looks like. Don't see any damage on it. Maybe a couple headlights. Pretty much a usable front end assembly. Yeah, not our favorite sellers. Let's take a look inside. And they painted right over the airbag. I guess masking paper and tape wasn't in the budget for this rebuild. Even the amateurs at least used newspaper. Come on, guys. That's definitely Bondo dust that's all over the place. We have some power. Wonder if it'll start. I don't need to find out. They just painted everything in their path. They put some Bondo on. Forgot that whole sanding step in between. I just went ahead and primed right over it. You can hardly tell. Could have at least put the door gasket back in there and keep the water out. Besides wasting time and materials, I don't think the work they did actually accomplished anything. Let's figure out where this thing came from so we can learn a little bit about how third-party auction cars get to the auction. The Google machine has failed us. It's never been through the auction before. Well, it has been through the auction before, but offered by these guys. But it did leave me with this, which is classifieds. So this vehicle was towed in, probably rolled over, didn't have insurance, and it was left at the tow yard. So the tow yard has to dispose of it, and on newer vehicles, they auction off the vehicle, and this is the notice of the sale, and this is all the vehicles that they were offering at the time. I bet there's a few of these that are in the auction as well. So this is the amount that you start bidding at, or could buy it for, and that's basically whatever the tow fees were at the time for, uprighting it, towing back to the yard, and then storing it for all that time. So you could have bought it if you would have bought it here for $6,700, $6,675. I don't know. Yeah, this is an auction, so this is just the starting bid. Apparently nobody showed up and paid anything for it because they do just kind of throw these into classifieds. This is just the state law. Illinois is the same way. You have to post it in a newspaper, and they haven't really changed with the times. You can post it in a newspaper. Nobody's ever going to read it. And that's how the tow yards end up getting the vehicles. If nobody buys it, they get a COP, which is a certificate of purchase. And with that, they can then get a salvage title. So that's why our F-150 has a salvage title. They went through all those steps to get the salvage title. That way they could put it back in the auction to resell it. They can't resell it with the COP. So they went the extra step so that they could resell it. Or maybe they were going to actually try to rebuild this thing and they got in over their head. And that's what I'm going to go with because they definitely did not increase the value. They didn't hide anything. They just gave up. Rightly so. Somebody needs to take their tools away. From a return on investment standpoint, I think these guys would have been a lot better off just sticking it in the auction the way they picked it up from the accident scene. Buyers will pay a little bit more when they can see that nobody's been touching the car. They are a little hesitant to buy from third-party auctions, and this is why. But if nobody's really touched it and they understand where it came from, they might be willing to gamble on it. It does have some salvage still left on the vehicle, and if you're really brave and you want to change a lot of panels, it might even be rebuildable. A lot of you youngsters might be wondering, what's with all the holes? What are they there for? Well, a long time ago, that's how we straightened dents. If there was a dent in a panel, we drilled a hole or punched a hole, screwed in our dent puller, which had a little screw at the end of it, and we'd knock the panel out and then go ahead and cover it up with our body filler, which would just ooze through the holes like a Play-Doh fun factory. We'd sand it down, prime it, and paint it, just like we do now, except now we just weld the stud gun to it and knock it out. There's no holes on the inside. Chances are they didn't have a stud gun that worked on aluminum, and let's be realistic, they probably didn't have a stud gun at all, because these are tow truck drivers just trying out a new line of work, one they're definitely not cut out for. So that's why they decided to just get out of this one and send it through the auction. And if you're looking for a way to get cheaper vehicles to rebuild, those sales that the tow truck company had are a good way to get them, because nobody's watching the classifieds. People really don't show up for them, so you really have no competition. So if you check with your state and find out what your requirements are to buy from those kind of sales, maybe you can pick some up and have a cheap rebuild for you. I mean, they would have had it for $7,000 if they could have got this truck back on the road. You know, maybe they have less than 20 grand in this thing. A salvage title, but might be worth it. I didn't run the numbers on it, didn't figure it out, wasn't interested, just thought it was kind of comical what they did to it. And just wanted to let you know that this is where they come from. This is what the towing companies do with the cars. A lot of people think that there's just an endless pit of cars at the towing company that they just go into and they never leave. But no, in order to bring in new cars, they got to get rid of their old cars off the lot, and that's how they do it. If they had gotten a clear title for this thing, if the owner had brought them the title, they could have disposed of this thing with the title, and none of this would have showed up on the Carfax. If there was no police report, nobody would even know this ever happened. Luckily, they never got the title from the owner, so it did show up on the Carfax or as a salvage title, and it is a salvage title, so people at least know. That's how this thing got in the auction. If you're wondering how I know all this stuff, it isn't because I Googled everything, it's because I spent 20 years in the business. That's how I know, and now I'm sharing it with you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show